Okie dokie, rise and shine, everyone. Well, we can't really do the shine part, right? Where's the sun? Somebody took it. I got a feeling. Hope you guys are doing well. Wave meteorologist Brian Good on this Monday morning. Yeah, another gloomy setup. Been gloomy for a while. I think we're now, 160 something hours, I believe, of being overcast. And it's going to be tough the next couple of days getting any sun. But later this week, we do have a little more of a promising chance anyway for partly cloudy skies briefly to develop. I don't see full-on a sun scenario here for a while, so we're going to have to be a little patient on that. That's that time of the year, right? It's always usually cloudy around here. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm waving your all just Brian Good. As I mentioned, this is SnowTALK, the blog update for the short and long-term outlooks. And I like to talk about the long-term a lot. I know it comes with a risk of changing all the time, and it will, but it's interesting to track and learn from. And that's where my passion always was at when I was at WKU. I was always into climatology, probably more than I was meteorology, as I just really was fascinated with long-term global patterns, especially ones that repeat themselves. And we're learning more and more about that as we add another year to the calendar. We put another year's worth of data into the bucket, and that's another year that we can analyze. And that's what the reason why forecasting for long-term has done better than it used to, is because we have more years added into the books, and that will only get better. It will only get better. So that's good news. All right. So having said that, I have no idea what's happening down the road here. All right. So just be honest. But I will just give you an idea of where we are on the data and give my opinion as always. So I'm going to do that. First, we're going to get to the snowboard, which it's not very impressive right now. It's only got the brief, and again, take today out of the equation, just FYI, the brief mix in the morning we'll watch, especially for Indiana, and maybe going back to flakes again some point Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, but minor really in both scenarios. So nothing big happening. In fact, I really don't see any type of extreme weather, period, whether it's intense wind, flooding, intense cold, or overly warm. Over the next, I would say, 1 to 2 weeks, our weather, while we will see some changes back and forth between warm and cold,
I don't really want to call that dynamic and an extreme. I don't think it will be. I just think it's going to be a kind of a back and forth and kind of a whiplash on a mild day, then back to a cold day again. But you may not know as much of a change because when we're flipping back and forth, it'll happen many times with dry fronts instead of ones that have a lot of moisture with them. So if you didn't pay attention to the forecast, you may not know what the next day is going to be like temperature-wise. So make sure to stay close to those numbers. And, of course, we'll keep you updated on the Wave weather app. I've already seen a lot of your comments and a lot of your questions, especially in the longer term, Travis. So your note on that. Again, I'm going to get to that in just a second. Let me show you, though, the current setup, which is interesting because we have temperatures right now in Louisville, 37. 37 is cold. Don't get me wrong, not brutally cold, but it's cold. It usually gets snow, and this rule doesn't always apply. But in setups where they're marginal like this, if you can get 36 or lower, you have the chance to get a little bit of snow to fall. And we have some moisture drifting across Indiana and Kentucky, and the number of reports of snow right now are going up. And you can see that several spots are either at or lower than that 36 other than Louisville. Surprise. So there is the chance, so yes, that the snowflake can survive for a lot of that's moving into wave country here for the morning hours. One of the spots we're watching right around Bardstown, I haven't seen much yet. Several reports in E-Town, Frankfort, Oldham County, and even in Logan County, Kentucky. The snow was actually covering the ground. That's down closer to Bowling Green. So as we look at the radar, it doesn't look like much, and it really isn't. But every once in a while, you get these little passing showers, which contain mainly snow. The radar is even having a tough time trying to figure out what they are. It's going back and forth between green, back to the white and blue, back to green. It's like, it just really depends on how the temperature profile of that lower part of the atmosphere, where you're at, where it lies. And in some cases, they're going to get perhaps a nice little snow shower that will develop, which is nice. The reports we've had on the sensitive part of the radar, it's easier to track these, by the way. Get rid of the green and the white. A lot easier just to track where they would likely be, and that's likely going to be in eastern Breckenridge County right now, into Hardin County near E-Town. Louisville's probably got a little bit of drizzle kind of drifting through, and just outside of Louisville, if this can hold together near Bardstown, there's a chance you may get a few flurries out of that. Same story in Oldham County, perhaps a few flurries there. Maybe in northern Harrison, you'll get back into a few flurries. And the radar can only see really a lot of activity that's close by to the radar beam, which happens to be right around areas of Fort Knox. And I drew what looks like a pig. All right, anyway. I didn't promise I didn't plan that. Okay, so as we look at the reports we're getting from a lot of you out there on MPing, which is a great site to send your reports in, a lot of the flakes are showing up. There's even actually a snowflake report in downtown Louisville, which is interesting because it was a raindrop a second ago. But we got a few flakes being reported there all in LaRue County, several in Frankfort. You guys are lighting up, not Frankfort, but Lexington, excuse me, lighting up there. Paoli lighting up. West of Crawford County, starting to light up there. Same story around, say, Scottsburg area of Kentucky. So, yeah, these are not going to amount to much. They're really not. They're just going to, in some cases, yeah, like in Logan County, it did briefly coat the ground, but it's melting. Like right now, it's probably already gone. So it's a relatively minor stuff, just festive flakes. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I already talked too much about it. The biggest challenge we've got today is really figuring out this cloud deck. When will this erode away? Not that it really matters in a big fashion because we have another system moving in tomorrow, which is what the number one thing was listed there on the snowboard. So we do have another system moving in, so we can just get replaced with more clouds coming in tonight. But it is important to know if we will see this shrink down because lows tonight, how low are we going to go? And some of the modeling tries to break these clouds up enough to where we get down into the 20s tonight. That's not good with moisture coming in tomorrow. We'll see what happens. I think the city of Louisville usually stays a lot warmer in these scenarios than other surrounding spots do. So Louisville probably is the exception of what I'm about to say versus those of you away from the city limits. And certainly for those of you in Indiana, pay attention to how the setup's going to play out. So we'll watch the cloud deck on the satellite image here today and see how much of that can erode. Most of the modeling shows that it would erode on this side, the western side of it, and try to build toward I-65. We'll see if that trend starts. It's got a limited amount of time, of course. Otherwise, it'll run out of time, and then we'll have the next system that will drop in tonight. So let me show you that one as it moves on by. So you can see even this high-res model, that's our in-house model, shows that clearing building all the way up to 65. But again, it just doesn't last long because it gets replaced. Now, the blue lines are the temperature lines at the ground level that's right at freezing. And you can see that stretches right across Louisville. It's taking us down to 31, 32. I don't know if we're going to go that low or not. Typically, again, we try to trend that a little higher than other spots. But Indiana and certainly into northern Kentucky I-71 corridor, you're likely still below freezing. There will be a line of moisture ahead of a clipper that dives down. This narrow line of moisture will be very much like a front, the way it's going to look. Just about every model has this, just about every one. So confidence is high on this band moving in tomorrow. Timing on this, I would say roughly 7 to 10 a.m. is the window to watch. Probably the time that I'm on here with the blog tomorrow. It should be on the radar at that time, moving through. And you see it's got pink listed there because the modeling is trying to say, well, wait a minute. The models are, or the temperature are expected to get down to 32 or lower. And we've got moisture moving in. Now, the reason why it's showing pink and not snow is that the upper layers of the atmosphere are not sold on being able to not only generate a snowflake, but there is a warm little push right at the ground level to where it would likely melt, and therefore you're ended up with a rain scenario. Or as it comes in contact with the cold ground that's 32 or lower, we call that freezing rain. It is narrow, so that's good. It is a brief wave that moves on by. See, when it gets to Louisville, it's indicating rain, but up 71, still perhaps a freezing rain scenario. There is a chance that if the rate is a little higher than what's indicated, it could switch over to a sleet scenario or even over to snow. I'm not ruling out snow with this band. Just right now, all the data I'm looking at, and I was hoping to show you a slide showing that, but I forgot to put it in. There's actually two that I forgot to put in here today. I just realized it, so I apologize. But it's basically, there's a lot of support indicating more of a freezing drizzle rain scenario and hardly any showing snow. And that's because the warm nose is right there, roughly about 1,000 feet, less than 1,000 feet. It is showing up. So that's the reason why this would likely be a brief freezing rain scenario. But the good news is this is after rush hour. All right, this is mid-morning we're talking about. I don't think it's going to last very long. And ground temps are warm, so this would only just coat maybe a very, very fine little glaze on trees and bushes, railings and sidewalks. Be careful, and even your car. But the roadway is likely to do quite well. We'll monitor this. Again, I want to stress the brief nature of that. It moves on by. It's generally just showers across central and east Kentucky. As it passes by, we all have a chance to get above freezing by a few degrees. It's going to be a cold day, so it's not going to be a warm setup at all. And then on the backside of it, better chance to get flurries that may fly as we head into, very similar to what we got today, actually. We're on the backside of a system today, same as we head into Tuesday night and early Wednesday. Minor at that on the flurry side. So this is not a big setup, not at all. This is pretty weak. But look at that. On Wednesday, once again, the clouds try to break out. Will that be the day we get the sun? Possibly. Possibly. Otherwise, we have to wait till about Thursday or so to see that happen, because we do have more fronts that are coming our way. All right, this is one of the old slides, so ignore this one. Let me show you how next week or later this week into the following week is going to play out. Still very much a blocking pattern that we're facing. Kind of odd though for us, because our weather overall is going to be coming in from the north and east this week, not from the west. So pay attention, north and east on the maps this week. We have one front that'll be dropping down Friday into parts of Saturday. At the moment, it's really not showing much connecting to it. Much of the moisture is up here into the northeast. That's not surprising. It's a northern front coming in, right? So, yeah, it's coming over a long stretch of land. So where is it getting its moisture from? That's a good question. And it really doesn't have much to work with because there's no really body of water for it to pull water from. It's not shaped in a way where you can pull water from the Gulf of Mexico. It's an east-west kind of front, so it's not a really full-on south wind into this. So there's just nothing for this front to really work with. So other than a few showers that will be possible, it's really just a temperature reset that will likely happen for the end portion there of the weekend. It doesn't last very long. It moves off to the east, and here comes our system that tries to do that squeeze play we talked about last week. It's actually a fairly decent system. It's got a lot of moisture with it because it is so slow, because we're in a blocking pattern. It actually is pulling water off the Gulf in a very continuous fashion into this. So this one actually is decent. But we have a high pressure that's building in right over us into the Great Lakes area in the Ohio Valley. And it is not wanting to let anything near it. It's like, no, you are not crossing this line. You shall not pass. So as it tries to move in, it will scoot across the deep south. Now, some of the models say that scooting process will be a little closer to us, where we'll get rain right into I-64. I know last week it was showing like a lot of snow in the I-64 corridor. I don't know at the moment we're going to be cold enough for that, and there's been a lot of trends to keep us away from the snow idea. And it's either rain or not, kind of ordeal. And it looks fair. I mean, it does look like that kind of a setup. So it's really more of an issue of the deep south. I mean, very active weather for them. I mean, heavy rain, potential for severe weather, a lot of wind, because this is going to become more of a coastal low for the Carolinas. So not the best of travel weather for those that try to escape winter. You can rub it in their faces if they're went down to the beaches, try to escape our cold weather. They're going to have miserable weather for the beaches for the next probably a week and a half down across the Gulf and the Carolinas. But for us, we will have to deal with that little sneaking by. Now, as it does, again, we look to the northeast, another dip comes into play for early next week. This one is a little colder, so I do think that will push us down into the 40s for highs, maybe some 20s at night. So it's a colder setup coming in from the northeast that'll just dip down over us. And then it takes a while to get out of the way. And then again, it's just quiet. We have to wait a while until we try to have another system that will try to punch back through this whole mess again. But that could take another 3 or 4 days for that to happen. So going all the way to February 8th, as you saw there is just not a whole lot happening in the Ohio Valley. I'm glad. I'm happy for the break, but I don't know how long it will hold. But it is at least nice to avoid any kind of extreme weather through early February. After that, well, that's the question. The polar vortex is certainly still strong. I was going to show you a slide of the wind fields for, let me turn that off, actually. Hold on. Make sure it doesn't show up. There we go. I was going to show you the wind fields at the higher levels there, latitudes, to show you the wind field to see if we could see any sign that the polar vortex would be on the move. And there are some hints after about February 12th through the 15th, and there's some hints that it will try to slide southward into the lower 48, especially between Canada and the eastern United States. Again, I'm going to caution you guys, you're going to have to go slow with this. It's likely going to be slower than what is indicated. And remember that bump, if you were watching the other day, we had a little bit of a bump around the 11th that was showing up, a lot of the teleconnections, and then it tried to show a colder blast. I think that means that we're not going to see anything really on the really extreme cold side, if it's going to be able to do so, until later into the month of February and likely into March. March does not look warm right now. So that's the thinking right now on this. And we'll just have to take it one step at a time. We do have a new update from the Long Range Euro tonight, and I'll have that for you guys coming up tomorrow. There you go. See, that wasn't too bad, was it? Little festive flakes in the area today. Nothing too wild for tonight. All right, let me see if you have any questions before I head out. Let's see here. What's the latest Arctic blast in mid-February? Adam, I hope I just answered your question on that one. Sorry, I just now saw it. Let's see. Bloomington, woke up to a dusting of snow in Bloomington. Nice. Thank you for the report. I appreciate that. I love sticking it to the snow escapes. I love that. Jedediah, no snow-nado anytime soon. I'm sorry, Jedediah. I know you're sad. Hang in there, buddy. You never know what's coming.